So I've been thinking a lot lately about my former student, Jose. I first met him a few days before the school year started. I was in my classroom covered head to toe in dust. I was cleaning out some old cabinets, and I hear a soft knock on the door. And I go open the door of my 5th grade classroom, and I find a very small dark-haired woman and an even smaller dark-haired boy standing there. And neither of them spoke any English, not even enough to introduce themselves. Fortunately, I spoke Spanish fluently, and they were very excited about that. And so this boy was named Jose, and he had just arrived from El Salvador less than 2 weeks before I met him. And his parents had come in advance. They had worked very hard, saved up an exorbitant amount of money to pay some coyotes to smuggle Jose, who was 10, and his 6-year-old brother, who he was in charge of for the whole journey, in a car trunk across the border so that they could come to California. And this child was amazing. He worked harder than anyone I've ever known. He came in not even knowing how to say, "Hello, my name is Jose," and by the end of one school year, he almost tested out of the intermediate level of English proficiency. And he had the brightest smile and was just so excited to be there and so excited to be at school and to do all of the school things. And I've been thinking of him lately because there's one particular story that really touched me and reminded me of Jose and his mother. In the village of Araquiz, we spoke with a woman who described through her son, who was helping translate for her from Arabic to English, who described the process that she and the other adults of the village went through when they decided that they needed to have a school for their children. As it had been, these children had to walk 4 kilometers through roads that were not always safe for them to the school at the next village over, past an Israeli military installation, past roads where they felt that they were not welcome. And this took hours. They were kids, little legs. These are hours they should be in school, not walking to school. And so they wanted to build one in their own village. And they went through the required process. They applied for permits. Their village is very close to an Israeli military installation, and their request to build was denied. And so they had a meeting. They said, well, but we still need a school. Our children should be learning. They shouldn't be schlepping. I don't think they said schlepping. Our children shouldn't be schlepping all these miles every day. And so it was decided among the families of the village that they were going to build a school, IDF permission or no. And so for many nights, for weeks and even months, the women would stand guard in the middle of the night while the men built the school brick by brick, board by board, with whatever materials they could find available. They weren't allowed to purchase and import any new materials for fear that that might be used for nefarious purposes. And every few years, more children, the village was growing. They wanted to add a room onto the school. They'd have to go through this process again and again, this clandestine, secret building of a school without permission. And they were willing to take that risk, knowing that at any moment an Israeli soldier could show up and give the order to tear down this school and expel all the children and send them home. And it just struck me, this is such a universal human attribute, to want to build and to want to provide something better for your children so that they can learn and grow and have a safer, happier, richer life than you did. That's what motivated Jose's mother to send him thousands of miles through Central America and Mexico so that he could get an education and start a better life. That's what motivated this mother, Baso, and her son, who I realized was about the age of the school. Like, she was telling the story through him about a school that she and the others built for him. And they were willing to take on all of this risk, knowing that it could be annihilated at any moment because it was that important. And I think about the wonderful benefits that I have gotten as an American, as the child or the descendant of immigrants, very poor, non-English speaking immigrants from Italy. And as a convert, but also a descendant of one of the oldest Jewish communities in America, in Charleston, South Carolina. And education is what allowed my family to get from the penniless immigrants that they were when they got off the boat to the very comfortable lifestyle that I now enjoy with my family in the States. And I feel so responsible for that as an American and as a teacher, that we need to be standing up for the rights of education for everyone, not just for a privileged few. A few years ago, my mother was doing research on Ancestry.com, and she was tracing back the particular part of our family that's the Jewish branch. It made it back into the 1820s and had a moment of crisis where she was thinking, oh my gosh, my great-great-grandmother, I think her father was a slave owner. She was very upset about this and, did some more research, and, a week or two later she decided, no, I don't think that's a member of the same family. It's just someone with the same last name. Cohen, there's a lot of them. And so she felt this feeling of such relief, like, oh gosh, Baruch Hashem, they weren't slave owners. I'm like, but Mom, they were jewelers in the deep South before the Civil War. Who do you think their customers were, and where do you think that money came from? And so there's nothing I can do about the history of my country or of my family, but I can absolutely stand up and speak out for people like Jose and his mother, people like Basel and her son, who just want to be able to get an education in safety and make a better life for themselves.